Ursula Nordstrom, being the clever editor that she was, thought to test this. And the person that she wanted to test this idea with was a friend of hers here in Brunswick at Rodgers, a woman named Mary Gavers. And Sendak wrote to her and sent her a letter saying, would you experiment with some of your kids? Mary Gavers worked at a Rodgers program teaching teachers, basically. Mary worked with one of her students to sort of hold a focus group, to have kids tell her what they thought of Where the Wild Things Are, this new book that was coming out. So we have at the Rosenbach this piece, this letter of kids' reactions to Where the Wild Things Are the day that it came out from here. And it's fascinating because it once shows that kids, mostly like the book, and it also shows how unimpressed kids are with things that we think are impressive today, which is kind of interesting. So this is just a sampling of a couple of the responses, and I'll just read a few. But a 7-year-old named Randy says of Max, I think he's going to get in trouble. He's jealous because the wild things are so bad, but they're pretty stupid. Then he concludes that the pictures aren't that good and declines to have the book read aloud again the next day. Billy, who's a 6-year-old, says, I like it. That couldn't happen, about the forest growing in Max's room. Then he points to the front cover and says, that's a buffalo. He made them sit down. He's big. He's a giant. They have long claws. You shouldn't read it to Tom, his 3-year-old brother. He'll think it's real. What else does he say? Wally is big enough not to be afraid of the book. He can read it. You can sense this kid is trying to kind of look out for all the other ones. Max has magic hand rays. The sea monster is scary. And then Rod, the 5-year-old, has all kinds of great lines. He says, first of all, he says that's imaginary. He also asks, what happened to Max's mother and father? And why doesn't he take off his costume? Which is all kind of interesting questions about the story. And then at the end he says, that's pretty funny, and he didn't even get killed. I mean, the kids' reactions to this were just really surprising. None of them really had a problem with the monsters themselves. And we often get asked, was there any controversy about Where the Wild Things Are? And I've heard sort of telltale controversy, but I've never actually seen in print many places, other than one place that I can think of, anybody sort of panning the book for having really scary imagery or scary monsters. And I think this was sort of written in response to that. So that was sort of done locally, which I think is interesting. It also speaks to the theme of migration that goes on in Sendak.